is the Business of Reselling podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Oman. Hey everybody, it's time for the Business of Reselling podcast season 4. This is episode 61. It is 2026, and this is the first episode of the year. I'm on it, friends. You're going to see a lot more content this year. I'm motivated, which I can't tell you about right now, but I will soon. Anyway, the year has just begun. I'm recording this on January 4th. We're already facing some pretty shocking world events, and regardless of what you think about them, it's looking like this year will be as volatile and unpredictable as the last, if not more so. And there's really not a whole lot we can do about that except climb on for the ride. As resellers in Canada, we continue to face higher barriers to international shipping due to tariffs and duties, expensive postage rates, and, of course, an uncertain economy. And all of these things affect the likelihood that somebody is going to buy from us. If you're a reseller in Canada, you know it's a little bit different north of 49. So today's episode is going to revisit my original podcast goal of $1 million in revenue in 1 year. Remember that dream? And whether or not it can still be done. By the way, before I get going on that, I am actively trying to grow the YouTube channel. So please get over there to youtube.com/@Storagewarrior podcast. I did gain some new subscribers at the end of the year, and I love any bit of momentum that brings. So thank you so much if you're new to the channel. I'm really glad that you're here, and I think you have joined at a fantastic time. So like, subscribe, and comment. Help me get to, 1,000 subs by springtime. I think we can do it. Also, the longer you watch, the better it is for the old algorithm. So I do appreciate you spending some time here. And I'm going to refer you to some older episodes in this episode to sort of give you a little bit of continuity around the podcast. In case you're new here, there's quite a lot to go back and listen to. So speaking of which, when I first started the podcast, and you can go back and listen to episode 1 to hear about sort of those initial goals and dreams, and I've linked it down in the show notes. This was all about whether and how to make $1 million a year in reselling. So I was like, can it be done? I believed that it could be done. At that point in time, we were about halfway there, and I thought, this is totally doable. And a lot of it has to do with just like sourcing and acquisition, which is a story you hear over and over again from experienced resellers, that sourcing the right items is probably the number one thing that matters in reselling. Anyway, for Canadians especially, I think that the barriers have gotten too high to make $1 million in revenue possible on selling products alone. There, I said it. I think it's too hard. I think maybe it can still be done, but it needs something more. So in this episode, I'm just kind of going to explore what some of those things might be, because I don't want to change the original goal of the podcast. Like, that was the inspiration for it. I really thought 7 figures a year was possible, and I want to keep my millionaire mindset going forward. Whatever happens in the world, whatever happens in reselling, whatever happens to eBay, all of that, there are still things that we can control. And $1 million is out there, but I think it looks a little bit different now. Yes. So barring the possibility that you accidentally come across a massive collection of whatever that you can sell for millions of dollars, making $1 million a year in 1 year, I think, is going to be about what somebody does with their reselling money. So the first thing I'll talk about is investing. And I've got four ideas here that I'm going to go through. First one is investing. And if you want to hear like a little bit more about some of like the basic ways that you can invest in Canada, I did an episode that I think it was episode 40. It was either 41 or 49. I have linked it down in the show notes. And that's where I went over very simple Canadian investing buckets, like the TFSA, tax-free savings account, RRSP, FHSA, which is the first home savings account. It's an account for people who are eligible as first-time home buyers. And all of these accounts are things that you can invest in, whether it's the stock market, ETFs, um, GICs, or even just as high interest savings accounts. You can use all of these buckets to do those things. So that is one way that you could take your reselling money and help it compound and grow without additional work by you. And that is, of course, by investing. And hopefully all of you are already doing that. But, if you're very new on your reselling journey and maybe this is just a part-time thing or it's a side hustle or you're just doing it for a while to maybe pay for an unexpected expense or something like that, then you may not have thought about, hey, like maybe this is something I could actually, uh, you know, take forward to the long term and invest some of that money in something that can grow in the future. So it is something to think about. And if you're starting to gain any momentum with reselling, start thinking now, can I put aside like even 2% or 5% of my profits in reselling into this some kind of investment vehicle, and depending on your risk tolerance and your timeline for needing that money, all of those things affect what you invest the money in. And I'm not here to make those recommendations. I'm just here to say, hey, if you are profitable in reselling and you're not investing that money somewhere, that is one way to do it. I have added income in recent years. I've added overall income and revenue to like my life and to my household by taking those reselling profits and investing them in all of those vehicles that I mentioned already. And so it does add up over time, and that will continue to compound. So I think investing is going to be one way. We should all be doing it. The second one, which is what I'll spend the most time on, is diversification. So, diversifying the business and creating multiple revenue streams within the business. So, actually, the reason that I'm recording this particular episode today and this content today is because I happened to see a post from Harry Tornado. If you don't know Harry Tornado, they're a reselling couple. I think they live down in Florida. And they have a very popular YouTube channel, like very popular on social, and they film themselves going around to flea markets and they really share a lot of the insight behind their business. Quite interesting people. Anyway, they did a post about how much money they had earned from some Facebook reels they created, which were all about some things that they found in a storage unit that they bought. And they're very transparent about like, we made this much money from this video and this, and it wasn't crazy money. It was like from under $100 to a few $100s on each reel. And they were just saying, hey, like this sort of 1-2 punch of content creation and reselling is fantastic and it can have incredible benefits, and one kind of feeds the other. Now, I don't watch them enough to know if they're making $1 million. Maybe you do. I'm not sure. I haven't spent enough time on the channel to get a sense of that. But I do know that they're, open and transparent about this diversification and earning revenue within the business that's not just from selling products. I also know that they're very sweet people. I observed that at the Boss Reseller Remix a few years back, and I know that they are very intelligent and likable. And this helps them leverage one part of their business to feed the other. And it really works. Like, I really, really want to focus more on content creation this year and get people listening and watching the videos for longer, listening to the podcast for longer. Um, Realistically, I know that that's not going to supplement much of the revenue that we lost last fall when the whole de minimis thing went away. Um, but maybe in the long run, it will help a little. And my upcoming project, which I think will be very, very friendly to content creation, is definitely going to help with that. And sorry, I have to keep teasing that one for right now. Some people know what I'm doing. I'm not being totally silent about it, but we are making a big shift this year, and I will announce it soon, I promise. There's other ways to diversify, like you could use more selling platforms. So if you're just reliant on eBay right now, you could consider branching out and trying another platform. Um, I have few words of caution here, which is that selling on too many platforms does spread your efforts out maybe too thinly. Like, I don't think it's a good idea to do eBay and Poshmark and Etsy and Grailed and whatnot and layering all those things on together unless you have a whole team of people to support you, because really until you know the full ins and outs of one platform and you've really mastered that platform, like only then should you think about this kind of diversification. I really feel like otherwise your efforts can be wasted if you just spread your time too thin amongst a whole bunch of different platforms. Um, but we found that we had to pivot and we had to diversify our platforms in order to try and get back some of the revenue that we lost on eBay. So last August, when the de minimis threshold went away, we lost about 40 to 50% of our revenue overnight. We were able to recover some of it through running bid rush auctions and also by focusing a lot more on Poshmark, which we're only on Poshmark Canada. So all of our Poshmark sales stay within the country. Um, and so I decided that those were the two platforms that I wanted to kind of spend a little bit more time on to see if I could make up what we were losing from eBay. So I know eBay. I'm a absolute master of every part of the platform. I feel like I know how to use it to its fullest. And the tariff and duty and de minimis situation is not eBay's fault. So I had to say, okay, like I got to build a Canadian audience, like, and what platforms are going to help me do that? And the answers for us were BidRush and Poshmark. So Poshmark, I did cross list and or move a lot of eBay listings over to Poshmark in September and October. Um, and that did result in a 4x of our monthly revenue on that platform. So between from our revenue from August and our revenue from December, the December revenue was more than 4 times our August revenue. And we're actually on pace so far in January. I know we're only 4 days in, but we're on pace for our best month yet on Poshmark. So it'll be more than 4x. It'll be more like 5. And we are not using promoted listings on Poshmark. That's a new thing that they've just introduced. And I just decided that because we have good momentum right now and our sales are increasing on the platform, I don't want to mess around and try to understand how promoted listings work on Poshmark. So going back to what I said before, I don't feel like I have fully mastered that platform and maxed out my understanding of it and my ability to use it. So I don't think it's time for me to try promoted listings on Poshmark yet. I'm going to leave it. And of course, BidRush is the other thing. So we've managed to build a bit of momentum on BidRush. We're starting to build a bit of an audience there. Thank you if you're from BidRush and you're listening to this podcast, or if you're one of our customers from those auctions. Each auction has had more bidders, more traffic, more views, and unexpectedly more revenue. So that's working well for us. And then we'll be working on our next bid rush auction this week. So there's another way that diversification can work. The other way, which I think works best for content creators and people with a large audience on social media, would be like affiliate marketing. So I have affiliate marketing to a certain degree. I have a Whatnot share code that I used to promote it, but I don't really anymore. Not Whatnot, WorthPoint. WorthPoint. Because I do use WorthPoint. I'm a loyal user of WorthPoint. I love that platform. And I'm a proud affiliate of them, as well as BidRush. And if you are interested in BidRush, I do have my code down in the show notes. If you want to pay 10% fees instead of 12%, I think it is, you need to use that code and you'll lock that in for life. So affiliate marketing, again, usually a small revenue stream for a lot of people, but it is another way to diversify. And I think the important thing to know about affiliate marketing or referral marketing is just that you've got to be referring people to platforms that you actively use, that you believe in, that you are using, that you are proud to advertise. Um, that's just keeps the integrity of the whole thing. So I think that's important. Also going back to the investing piece, if you are new to investing and you're interested in Wealth Simple, I'm also going to pop a referral code down in the show notes for you for that. All right, so that's the second one. The third one is just a couple of other ideas. If you own a home, if you're fortunate enough to own a home, I don't own my primary residence, but something is coming soon. You could use your reselling profits to spruce up a space and rent it out. Or you could start repurposing or fixing up some of the things that you get if you've got the space to store them, like a workshop or a garage, something like that, to create your own line of products. And that brings me to the fourth thing. Hey, if you get really popular, you might even be able to sell your own branded merchandise. I've thought about that with Storage Warrior, but we are not going there right now. Merchandise or just creating your own line of products, repurposing things that you find at garage sales or whatever, and creating something that's like branded for you instead of just like reselling used items. So those are some of the ideas that I've been tossing around. And I want to stay optimistic. You know, my goal of $1 million in a year of revenue or of income, it remains my goal despite the fact that we have lost over 40% of our revenue and we haven't recovered all of those losses. I still think $1 million is possible only if you maintain a mindset that makes it possible. And of course, that you're also fortunate enough not to run into any unexpected barriers that would make this impossible. I think it's important to acknowledge that things happen in our life that regardless of what our millionaire mindset is, we just can't control them. Maybe they're medical events or losses or just like things can happen and it's okay if you don't have your millionaire mindset all the time. But if you don't have those obstacles and the barriers, you know, optimism and the drive to earn more income probably matter more than anything when it comes to achieving this goal. So I'm curious what you think as a Canadian reseller, or if you are an American reseller or an international reseller. I'm still curious. Is there still $1 million to be made in a year for us? For you? Do we know anyone who's doing it in Canada? Because honestly, I'm not actually sure if there are $1 million resellers in our country at all. Leave a comment and let me know. I would love your opinion on this and hope we can get some discussion going. So don't forget to subscribe to the podcast if you'd rather listen on the go. That's businessofreselling.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and don't forget, we are always buying. Hook us up with a great pick in British Columbia and you will receive a gift. That's all for today. I'm looking forward to the next episode. Bye.